In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
Welcome to Football Lesson, my guys! Right now, we're around the world. We're in Queensland, we're in Italy, we're in New South Wales, in Victoria, everywhere tonight, guys. Thank you for joining me on Football Lesson. Let's party right now, guys. Boy, we've got some news for you tonight, and it's always been our way, the highway. Is that right, Carlos? Don't forget the dance, of course. Where's my cards? Where's my cards? Look at my cards. They're missing here. Oh, boy, here we go. Hey! Check it out. The cup of life. This is the one. Now is the time. Don't ever stop. We should've known. Gotta be strong. We should've known. Right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold it back. If you really want to, Carlos, he's back. I see it in your eyes. You want the cup of life, Angelo. Will Italy do it? Will they make the World Cup? I think they will this time. Yes, Adam from Queensland. How you feeling tonight, man? Let's do it. Here we go. Ali, we are the people, we are the pack, and we are the history. My God, guys, tonight we're going back through a lot of history and what's happening. As we always say, it's our way, the highway. Gentlemen of football, let's welcome tonight, guys. Welcome tonight, of course. We've got Angelo Piccolo from Italy, guys. Welcome, Angelo, of course. Carlos, the return of the Lone Strangler, the Lone Strangler, the Lone Strangler, the Lone Stranger, and Adam Pace from the Football Review in Queensland.
Football Review, mate.
Football. I'm losing it tonight, mate.
Brisbane Football Review.
The Brisbane Football Review.
I mean, that's Harry.
Yes.
That's your first yellow.
Thanks.
Okay.
Where's my card?
Yellow.
I've got to find my cards.
You know what happened?
Can't find my cards, mate. Honestly, guys, tonight is a very special show. We've got the Lone Ranger back tonight with me, and of course everybody's here, and we'd like to welcome Adam Pacey from the Brisbane Football Review. I think I'm going to say soccer, but let's say football right now. Let me say there's a lot of we call that when I talk about something happens, I call it the shituation with SH. And of course, there's a lot of situations in Queensland. Can you tell us about what's going on with Brisbane Raw, for God's sakes?
Hey Harry, hey gang, thanks for having me first of all. Yeah, Brisbane Raw, it's been a usual sort of off season of drama and whatnot. They've finally cleared their debt with the Australian Tax Office, so that's probably a positive.
Oh, gee.
But still, there's still a couple of sort of small legal issues to go. Rebuilding side, new coach. It's all happening here with the Raw in the run up to the new A-League season.
Well, the A-League season's not that far away, and it's always as usual. Adam, of course, there is nothing we hear about anything, and of course, it's always the last 2 weeks. But I mean, is everybody fit and ready to go for the A-League? There's a lot of issues everywhere around the whole country with every club, but as Kenny Wilson would say, it's a mess. The lunatics have got the keys to the asylum, as he always says. Of course, that's what he says. But is that true? Not only are we talking about the A-League, we're talking about NPL Queensland. Mate, honestly, I don't know how the clubs are surviving. You're telling me during the week that there's nobody going to the games. I don't know what is going on around the country with community football.
It's an interesting one because at the moment it looks like it's like, as we were talking during the week, the crowds are certainly way down from year on year, and I don't know if that has to do with the offerings of having it live, every game live on streaming, which the clubs I suppose are bleeding because they're not getting their attendance, their admissions, and like the bar and canteen. It's all so it's very interesting how they are surviving. I guess in a way, Football Queensland are propping it up, and I suppose within those clubs themselves, they're paying for it. So, but it can't be a sustainable model for too long. And again, we're probably very, very close to some financial hardship, I'd say.
Yeah, I'll bring Angelo on because Angelo's in a country where the game is king. Of course, we have so many different ball games that we've got to compete against. But this is Angelo. Is a really part of the season where here being so cold, people don't want to go to the games. But as you know, it's really funny over there where you are. People turn up no matter what it is.
Yeah, look, I think it's just a question of events and event building. I mean, the game of football for a long, long time now, since the A-League started, it was all about event building and not the fact that the game cannot survive on its own. That's not right. It's just that with Australia's sport, it is about entertainment. And, like when we did things at Adelaide United and Perth Glory and, the Western Sydney Wanderers and Sydney, when they had Del Piero. It's all about, like pre-game entertainment to attract people there. Now, I know it's very cold over there now. It is like a winter over here, it's summer, obviously in Italy. But, I think that clubs can no longer survive on the barbecue and the snack bar and, unfortunately, you need commercial partners and you need money. And, of course, no one's going to move from the open fireplace or, the warmth of a home, when it's raining outside or snowing or hailing or whatever. I think that we need to do a little bit more, and I want to keep saying this. I keep saying this even for the A-League teams. We want to do a little bit more in terms of event building and, to attract not just the football followers there, but, just the punter, the people that like to be entertained. Just remember one thing, guys, like, I know it's got nothing to do with it, but, in 2003, 4 and 5, we made a big effort into giving us our name, football. Of course, Football New South Wales, then it became Football SA and Football Queensland and so on and so on and so on. And I think that we need to build our entertainment around that in terms of the brand positioning, but also in terms of the club. I know they've got volunteers, but, you're not going to get anybody going to the games unless you have something else organised before the game.
Carlos, you got something for Adam, of course?
Look, I think the issue with, I'm only speaking about New South Wales, so I can't, kick-off times are important, in my view, to attract the crowds. I went to watch the top of the clash, second against fourth, Apia Leichhardt against Rockdale at Rockdale, which Apia gave Rockdale a football lesson at winning 4-1. That was a 3 p.m. kickoff. There was about close to under 1,000 people there. Other games on a Saturday night are scheduled at 5:30, 7:30 p.m. on a winter night. I'm not sure about Queensland, but Queensland might be warmer. But I really love the 3 p.m. kickoff because it's not too cold. You get home as it's getting dark for dinner. So I think the timing of the schedule of the games plays a role in the crowds that we get. Also, having exposure through NPL TV, like we all have in New South Wales, we have Match of the Day for League 2, Match of the Day for League 1, and all games live from Premier League men and women's. It's a double-edged sword because you're getting more exposure, but also inviting people not to go because they could watch it having a nice cup of tea. So exposure on the telly or streaming is a double-edged sword, and also the timing is a problem because I really don't want to go and watch a game at Apia or Rockdale at 7:30 when you've got, those who know Jubilee Oval or Rockdale, Illingdon, you get this wind or this breeze from Botany Bay that is piercing.
My God.
So I think, I'm not sure about Queensland, but if the game's at 7 p.m. on a Saturday or Sunday, they're not family friendly.
Well, let me say.
So I think the timing kickoff needs to be looked at. I know that the football grounds are busier than ever. You got 18, 15s playing, and sometimes you could only put that first grade at 5 o'clock because everyone else plays before you. But for families, 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. on a Sunday is way too late when you have to go to school the next day. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think we need to have a look how we could balance TV exposure, giving continuous coverage for the TV dollar against horrible kickoff times like 7:30 on a winter night in Sydney, which is even though it's mild in comparison. to Melbourne and Tasmania, it's still very unpleasant for me to sit there
tell me about it.
on metal seats,
Mate. Honestly,
exposed to the elements.
Adam, let me just say one thing before I bring you in. Look, the other night we did speak exactly what Carlos said. We were speaking just quickly, and we've been talking about this in Melbourne too. Everybody's saying they've got to stop the NPL TV on YouTube. It's got to stop. They can only sort of like use one game a week, probably the game of the week, and that's it. Because they've saturated it everywhere. We're talking here from in Victoria, going from right down to the Victorian Premier League 3. Right up to NPL, too many games. People can't go. They won't go. They'll stay home, and it's saturated too much. And so we talked about that. What do you think of what Carlos is saying?
Well, just from what Carlos is saying, the problem is also exactly the same up here in Queensland. We've actually probably even got more favourable weather, so it's even probably worse from an excuse point of view that the excuse of having NPL TV or FQTV up here. For the top 3 men's divisions and top 2 women's divisions up here.
Yes.
It's just killing the crowds. And the game times, the kickoff times as well, is a huge problem here. The top of the table game that I went to on Sunday between Lions and Moreton City Excelsior, while there was a healthy crowd of 200-300 people, for a game of that magnitude, which was almost potentially a title decider, it's just not good enough. And it's like 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. That's well and good, but then you've also had games kicking off 5:30, 6:30, 7:30. And you've even got the most even more ridiculous point of view that obviously we've had a lot of midweek games at the moment trying to catch up because of the wet weather. You've got games kicking off at 8:30 at night, and that's 8:30 if everything goes to plan because they stick an under-23s game beforehand and there's no delays. Some of these games are kicking off at 8:45, close to 9 o'clock. And it's just, I understand that you have to get them played and as well as the under-23s as well. But a lot needs to be thought about. And just on the attendance as well, and the saturation, the ones that are suffering the most and the ones that are the most noticeable are still the outer region teams. So obviously in New South Wales and Victoria, obviously your whole entire competition is covered over maybe 100 kilometres. Up here, we've got a team on Sunshine Coast, and you've got 2 teams on the Gold Coast as well. So asking a travelling fan to go from Sunshine Coast all the way down to Tullabudra near the border.
It's a 4-hour drive. It's a 4-hour drive.
It is. Yeah, as you know, Harry, if you've lived up here, and you know,
I lived up there,
so
exactly.
the extent of it,
mate.
So that's also another problem we have up here in Queensland, and that's just the NPL. The lower grade, you go, like I said, you've got Toowoomba, you've got further up the coast, and a couple of teams on the Gold Coast. So we're talking more ground, more distance to cover. And if you've got it on TV, on live streaming, then you're thinking, why do I bother?
Exactly.
And then they said what it comes down to is, I agree with Angela's point as well. It's got to be an event. It's got to be something that has to be in the ground. You've got to give the fans a reason to go these games, be it A-League, be it all the way down to community football levels, and that's the lifeblood. I'd actually argue and say that probably the better attended games are probably up here in Queensland, FQPL 3 and below, because there's no streaming, so you have to show up.
That's right, no streaming. Yeah. See, Angelo, what's going on?
There's also some excellent points there. I think Carlos brought up the point about 3 p.m. In Italy, for example, you've got Serie A. In England, Germany and Spain, what they actually do during summer, and obviously the season's going to kick off in August here in the middle of summer, the games are on at 8:30 and it's in Spain 9 p.m. You're talking about 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m. When we sort of like approach December, January, the games, if you have a look on the calendar now, it's already planned, they revert to 3 p.m. So we're talking about Australia, like during the winter season, and I think 3 p.m. is an attractive time. Carlos was spot on, and so was Adam. Now, one point though, with television, you guys mentioned about television. Adam mentioned about the distance, and like why inviting people not to go, like Carlos said. Okay, if there is going to be television, then you have to have television rights. The money has to come back from television. Now, we're talking like commercial side of things here, but that's the way it works. I mean, we've often been like have this inferiority complex and say, oh, look, we're going to have television and we're going to have YouTube and it's fantastic. But then it could be working against you. If television was to come on board, they need to bring television rights and money needs to come back to the NPL teams and the A-League teams. And this is why it's a very big strategy here. We're talking about television, even the A-League. I think it needs to be packaged. It needs to be packaged with the Socceroos, the Matildas, the A-League, the NPL. Now, once you package it, encompassing all of our football family, it's going to be worth a lot more, and there could be money coming back to the NPL teams. That's the way the football family, and I think Football Australia should approach it. I think they are, but we haven't arrived at this sort of thing just yet.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
I'll just speak to Adam for a sec. Adam, I just want to go back I want to go back last year. Last year. We've had Raby Cram on here. Raby Cram, of course, the chairman of Wynnum Wolves. I was actually out there about 2 years ago talking to him out there about a few things as well. And what I can't understand is Football Queensland trying to be like dictators, saying, oh, you can't put together this Brisbane. What do you call the Brisbane United bid with the three clubs? I mean, that's ridiculous. What sort of competition runners are these? Where they're trying to build for the second tier competition, and they won't allow them go in, saying to them that, of course, if you go in there and you fail, you come back, you'll be going to the last league. What is this crap here, mate? This is ridiculous. The game's supposed to grow. They're not allowing them to play in these competitions as three clubs coming together. And I know who they are: Wynnum Wolves, Virginia, and you've got the Strikers as well. So they've got out a massive crowds at these games. Three clubs coming together. Honestly, mate, tell me about this.
It's an interesting one where you're right, and I think this is where a lot of it all fell over, as well as the debacle with Sunshine Coast Fire. Let's put that aside a second. There's more issues on that than just simply the whole, if you leave and then you come back, you drop off to the bottom division. But I think they've really sort of mistimed it, because I think the way the regulations were written, I think there was not much thought given, because teams like Gold Coast United, who are another one that were in the running as well, because they're NPL teams, it was assessed that basically that they'll come back, but there was no provision, because obviously Wynnum Wolves at the time were in FQPL 1, which is the second tier. Strikers as well that were in that. Wolves are now in NPL. Strikers are on track to join to be in NPL next season. They look like they're going to be promoted. So I think I just think it was just a sort of a case of it wasn't well thought out, and I think the way it was interpreted, I think wasn't good, especially when that at the end of the day they were going to be one separate entity. And again, with the whole thought process with the national second division as well, that clubs still were going to have in southern states, we're still going to have a presence in those NPL competitions, but it'd be another entity and almost another business entity that was actually going to be participating and have the license in the national second division. So I think it's I don't know, I'm not privy to what was sort of said and what was sort of spoken about as far as the actual sort of nuts and bolts, but I think from the outside looking in, that there really was a miscommunication about how that worked. Because, I agree, there should not be a problem in that case of having an entity above playing in the national second division and then playing and also in the NPL competition, which essentially, as long as there's no crossover, and then you can always have rules in place where if, say, for example, a Brisbane Strikers were to win NPL, for example, and they get promoted up to the national second division, that they wouldn't be allowed, because obviously it's two joint owners. So that's I think there are a lot of lessons were learned about that, and I think in the end, I think also as well internally, I think that the whole partnership as well between Brisbane Strikers and Wolves, Virginia were really a silent partner in all that. And so I think they're pulled out, but I think that's all sort of falling apart at the moment, which unfortunately, again, momentum that was had, because I really do believe that we do need a second national team up here in Brisbane. I know the Raw aren't going well at the moment, both on the field and off the field, but as we've learned down in Sydney, as we've learned down in Melbourne, we should not be afraid of competition, because at the end of the day, I always believe that Sydney FC were made better by Western Sydney Wanderers. I always think that Melbourne City, despite all their money, made Melbourne Victory better.
Derbies.
I think they should not be. Yep, and derbies. Exactly. And not necessarily derbies with the Gold Coast and whatnot, but actually within Brisbane. And I said, I know that people would say, that the Brisbane Roars won't survive. Well, we've got to get to the point where we say, well, look, we're not going to give everyone a handout. Like I said, if the Raw commercially can't survive because of the second team that is in Queensland, well, then so be it, unfortunately. They've got to adapt or perish.
I'm going to bring Carlos on before I bring Angela. Now, Carlos, we've said this many times, and of course with Angela as well. Of course, too many federations are sticking themselves up and trying to be the bullies of the game, which, Carlos, I think it's time that all these federations are gone. They have to go. There has to be one entity to run the whole game. Otherwise, this is going to keep going for another 40 years like it's been doing the same problem with all these entities. They must go, Carlos.
Well, I think what you need if you're going to convince the different state federations, New South Wales, Northern New South Wales, to give up the little kingdoms as they are, because they are, you have a little territory that you look after and you run with that. You need to have someone who is very persuasive in the arguments for unity. And number two, if I'm going to give up my throne as Football New South Wales Supremo, what's in it for me? So I think Football Australia, obviously that's a long-term strategy to bring. We could say the same thing about the 3 tiers of government, state, local, federal. Do we need 3 tiers of government? Well, maybe not. Maybe we do, maybe we don't.
New Zealand don't. New Zealand don't.
Well, it's like comparing apples and oranges. New Zealand has a fraction of the population that we have, so it's apples and oranges. So I think that's a long-term project, but there have to be a lot of thinking behind this project as to how we're going to compensate those federations who give up power. And question number 2 is financial resources. Football New South Wales has invested very wisely over the years, and I have no doubt they have a very healthy bank balance. They're not going to give up all the millions on the back to FA. So I think this has to be a process. You have to be someone who's very persuasive and have a model that benefits football, but also compensates those who give up the money and the cash. What's going to happen to the cash? Because no one's going to give up the cash to Football FA. So I think if it happens, I think it's 10 years away. The best we could do is to try to persuade the Football Queensland, Football New South Wales to work together to allow NPL teams to join a future second division, and encourage them not to give them the big stick. If you're dead last, you come to Division 6. So I think it's work in progress, but persuasion and compensation are the keys to having one umbrella body run the whole of the country. And then how are you going to rule New South Wales? So there have to be a lot of sub-delegations. So it is, to me, it's a 10-year project, and it will require a long-term chairperson with a vision and a team who are very, very persuasive in their arguments that you cannot say no.
Angela, this is where you're in Italy, one federation that runs the whole game in the country. This is where we need to have a massive talk about this one night with a lot of stakeholders, people who've been involved in the past. This has got to stop, because what it's doing is it's stopping the game, the growth of the game in this country, and that's what's going on, Angelo.
Yeah. One of the things, Carlos made an excellent point. I think he summarized it pretty well. But let's not forget, gentlemen, that any federation, including the Amateur League, and I've talked about this before, the Amateur League generates millions of dollars right throughout Australia, okay? What do they do with their money? I mean, a lot of the NPL clubs, they generate money through the juniors, and then that helps fund the first team and so on and so on. What I want to say is that any federation that generates millions, as Carlos was mentioned, why are they generate millions? Because of the game. Who governs the game? The Football Association. Who is the Football Association responsible to FIFA? And all of those federations are responsible to the FA. So there is a link there, but they're let go. And as you mentioned, you used a very good word there, Harry, bullying. They're actually bullying the game, and we are not progressing. We are not going, I just feel sorry for the game. It seems like a baby being picked every day and, like being abused every day. The game is beautiful. It is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful sport. It is the biggest in the world. And there's these federations looking after their little, like armchair and, looking after their poltrona, they say in Italy, But what it is that these guys, they need to be governed. And we've got, unfortunately, I know that Football Australia is trying to do the right thing now. That there's plenty of work to be done. Look, I don't want to. I think Carlos is right, but I don't want to believe that we're 10 years away from fixing this problem, where all of the affiliated bodies, the fraternity, the communities, the football family should be united to make the game great again. I've used that as a slogan because I think we need to say that a million times.
We do.
Let's get back to making the game great again, because the game was great at one stage. When we started the A-League, I think, well, I'm talking about Adelaide, Perth, and, we had Sydney FC, Melbourne Victory, and we were attracting really large crowds. And the sponsors and commercial partners were coming on board. They were actually knocking on the door. We didn't have to go out and knock on the doors. Like walk around or pick up the phone. The sponsors wanted to come on board.
Exactly. Now,
and I think that what is the answer, Harry? What is the answer? Unfortunately, the responsibility lies with the Football Australia. They've got FIFA. They've got FIFA in support. If any of those federations start bullying and saying, "Oh, you've got to give me this, otherwise I won't give you that," then there is also FIFA. Everybody's affiliated to FIFA. And if FIFA was to come on board, this is my point, and I finished, Harry. I'm sorry.
That's right.
I think there's a political degree here, which is Football Australia going to our government, because our game is fantastic in terms of the Matildas and the Socceroos. We're flying the flag. We are 12 months away from participating in another World Cup. We're 9 months away from playing in the Asia Cup.
Yes.
And what is the Football Association doing? Are they going to the government? Is the government, together with FA, going to FIFA? These are the steps to bringing back the game, because we're popular. We are popular, and people aren't going to the A-League and the Women's League. But the problem can be fixed, and let's hope it's not 10 years.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time. Do you have what it takes to become a soccer superstar? Look no further than Soccer Pro Academy. Led by experienced coaches, including a former Socceroo, the Academy provides world-class training to help you reach your full potential. From technical skills to tactical awareness, They'll help you develop the skills and mindset needed to succeed at the highest level. Soccer Pro Academy, where champions are made.
Are you looking for the perfect kit for your football club? Try Arrow Sport today. From jerseys to shorts to socks, Arrow Sport will have you completely covered. We can even cover your merchandising line, including hats, beanies, scarves, jumpers, and so much more. So if you're looking for excellent lead times, great pricing, and even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au. And even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au.
Looking for a haven to unwind and indulge? Look no further than Brista Cafe, nestled in the heart of Derrimut Village Shopping Centre. From decadent homemade gourmet cookies to scrumptious muffins, every bite is a delight. Everyone loves Brista Cafe, and you will too. So why wait? Visit Brista Cafe today and taste the difference for yourself.
Hi guys, Harry Sunday here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called There Is Only One Football.com, guys. You've got all sorts of stuff, from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
Exactly. Now, Adam, we're going to go to the next issue in Queensland, of course. We're talking about some match fixing here, just like Western United were match fixing. And, of course, we're talking about Macarthur Bulls match fixing.
Bulls.
And also, this is going to continue as far as I'm concerned, but what is this problem with the Gold Coast United, the former owner, who was, Clive Palmer? Well, they're trying to get back into the A-League, of course, make a bid to go back into the A-League, and this is what's happening now. So how does that, mate? I've heard a few things. Tell me.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a twisted tale, but it all sort of converges. But so you do talk about the ambition of the Gold Coast United sort of club, which mind you are not affiliated or linked with Clive Palmer, other than the name itself. So in that ambition, that they attracted a Chinese consortium to basically to buy into the club, invest, and obviously the pathways and the money that came into it. The sinister side of it is that unfortunately that representatives are known to that Chinese consortium, perhaps approached a number of players in the MPL senior team to basically to fix the results. And to the credit of that player, he's gone and then reported not only to the club, but then has also gathered the information and gathered the approach in evidence, and then has passed it on to obviously to the club, who's gone to Football Australia, to Football Queensland, and obviously the Queensland Police. So in the end, there was no wrongdoing as far as the club or the players, and they're all sort of cleared in that regard. There is one. Since I've spoken about this last publicly on my show and on Player Football as well, that there is a bit of a question about the result of the game that got postponed between Moreton City and Gold Coast United, which was actually given as a forfeit win to go to Moreton City.
Oh my God!
There is a bit of a question I'm hearing that result may be rethought about, because that would assume that at the moment, as it stands, is that Gold Coast United have done something wrong, which all the public statements have been to the contrary. Therefore, And that's going to be a very, very important result as well, because Moreton City at the moment are 1 point behind in second place in the league.
Okay.
Obviously, as we know, winning the league not only has obviously the title, but also as well the spot in the national second division. So that's something that needs to be sorted out. But other than that, I think it's all sort of all normalised now. As I said, everyone was involved at Gold Coast United had been cleared as far as we know. But again, it's just a stark reminder as well, and also as well on top of that Chinese consortium as well has, since that deal has fallen through to there. So they're now out of the picture, and sort of I guess Gold Coast United have left to pick up the pieces and sort of rebuild again as far as that goes. So that's probably the unfortunate thing. But at the end of the day, at what price do you want success? And then thankfully that the players and the club have enough integrity to say, hey, no, we don't want any part of this illegal behaviour.
But what about the? There was a recording. Apparently, it was a recording involved.
Yes.
Well, boy,
yes. So that's how far that this player want to ensure that they're sure that they nailed these people. That he actually recorded sort of the second approach, and that's what it was handed in evidence to the club. It was handed to the club, then that's been handed on to the relevant authorities, including the Australian Sports Integrity Commission as well. So again, it was a near miss, and as I said, thankfully that player had the integrity to not be sort of tempted to engage in this sort of illegal behaviour, but it's also a salient reminder that this is still happening. It's still, like I said, we've seen A-League players fall into this trap. God knows the temptation of these players who are obviously not getting paid as well as their A-League players, or even lower, and that these threats, these existential threats from overseas bookies, not necessarily the ones that are registered in Australia, not the ones that we see plastered over, like the sports bets and Ladbrokes and whatnot. This is a overseas betting company that was linked. So it is a reminder that this threat it continues, especially the lower league and the community league levels of the game.
Angela, let me just say one thing about this, and Adam, of course, and Carlos, that this could be the owners of the club, the guys who've invested in it. What happens in Angelo? What happens in Italy if you find the owners of the club are trying to be? In Italy, you'd be in jail, wouldn't you? Straight away, they'd lock the key, they'd lock you up. Is that right?
Well, and a few other things that you can imagine. Okay, a few other things that you can imagine in Italy, but it's very sad. I know that we talk about things that happen with the game, and we get this sort of publicity. And I remember when Clive Palmer was involved at Gold Coast, and Shane Smeltz, and a friend of mine, obviously, that played in Adelaide, he was there, and it was sort of like very exciting times, because he was trying to build. I think the stadium held something like 27,000, and he was talking about a strategy, to fill that. But it's very sad, Adam, that happens in Queensland, because we want to see what you guys were talking about, something really positive, and that's having derbies in each state.
Yeah.
I think Port Adelaide have done that. They've got, you guys were talking about 3 teams coming together to strengthen their bid and strengthen their financial ongoing and all that sort of thing. And then the Federation doesn't let them do it. I mean, two things I picked up in what you guys were saying. One is I'm a strong advocate for merging. For example, in Melbourne, Western United shouldn't have been bought. Whoever's listening to me, I don't care. I'm arguing against that. What really should happen, I know it's a dream, gentlemen. If Preston Macedonia was to merge with Heidelberg, can you imagine how strong that would be?
Wow.
In terms of crowds, in terms of membership, well, I know, and I said it's a dream, in inverted commas, okay? Merging, there is nothing wrong with that. I think that it's commercial sense about it. I think that Queensland were on the right track. If they were going to be part of the second division, their finances would come together and then have a separate entity, Adam, like you were saying. For example, Port Adelaide Power, when the Adelaide Crows came in, we're talking about AFL, but it's the same. It's the same concept, right? The Crows came in, Port Adelaide Power were not allowed to come in for 5 years to give the Adelaide Crows room. And then once Port Adelaide came in, they actually had an entity in the AFL, and then had a separate entity as Port Adelaide Magpies in the local competition. Yes. Now, guys, I'm not saying we should be copying. We should be learning from the blueprint. I mean, as we did in Adelaide, unashamedly, I want to say that Adelaide was born based on the foundations of Perth Glory. I mean, I took a trip. I know the sponsor paid for it, the owner, Gordon Pickard, and thank him for that. He put me on a plane, went over to Perth for about 2 weeks, and Nick Turner, of course, opened his arms and opened the books and everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that Queensland, merging maybe with 3 teams is a little bit more complicated, but there is nothing wrong with the Brisbane City or Brisbane Strikers merging with another NBL team to make them stronger, having a stronger membership base, stronger fan base, and, you know, having your go and coming in, you know, like one day playing in the league. Gentlemen, we've got the federations here, the federations that are not haven't got the right mission in place. No. Maybe they write a mission, but they do the opposite.
This is, Angela, this is what was going to happen. This is what was going to happen, I said a few minutes ago, where there was 3 clubs getting together to put together Brisbane United. Brisbane United were the first Queensland club to be in the NSL, Brisbane United, and then they went to strike as a name, and that's what happened. So they were going to do that, but have a look what happened. Have a look at it. Oh, you can't have the 3 clubs in there. And that's the failure of these competitions. Football Queensland, the amount of people, Angela, that would have turned up to the games, 3 clubs coming together. And you know what Raby said at that? We had him on the show once. He said, what the memberships have been $10 for everyone for the year. $10? Can you imagine how many people would have turned up as membership for the first year for $10? Carlos, yourself? Carlos? This is a great opportunity.
I will walk backwards to the ground for $10.
$10 every game.
No, now, I want to go back to the gambling issue.
Yes.
And unfortunately, this is not the last time we're going to hear about this.
No, you won't.
Because when we spoke with Adam on Saturday, and every NPL game that I go in League 1, League 2, in the A-League, there's 4 or 5 people with 2 mobile phones taking note of every corner, every throwing that happens. So I think gambling, unfortunately, is here to stay. It won't be the first time that we're going to hear about a club or players being encouraged to throw the game, because where fertile ground is in the lower, in NPL 2, NPL 3, or League 1, League 2, League 3, where you are earning next to nothing. NPL Premier League players in Queensland, I assume New South Wales, get paid quite well for what they do. So they don't have to throw the game away. This particular player also is an extremely brave young man, because I'll be watching over my shoulder for the next couple of months. My family could be in danger because you're dealing with some nasty characters here. So gambling is an issue that no one seems to want to tackle, because every game that you and I watch, Adam, these people there taking throwing yellow cards. So next time we go to an A-League game or NPL game and there's 5 yellows and a red, what you're going to think? Is the game fixed?
Something's going on.
So I don't know what the answer is, but I think obviously the clubs are not making money out of this. The federation, I'm sure, are not making money out of this, but it won't be the first time or the last time that we'll hear a club being approached by a offshore gambling syndicate to throw a game for X amount of dollars. So it is unfortunate. I don't know what the answer is, but we're not making money out of this. That is one certainty.
The other thing...
Carlos,
go on.
Carlos, sorry, Harry. I was just going to say something very quickly. I know you said 3 times the clubs aren't making any money out of it, but you find that some of the clubs, I'm not sure about the A-League, but in Italy, some of these betting companies are going on the front shirt of the club.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yep.
Example.
So they're investing money. They're investing money into the club. And, on the advertising board, Carlos, and you'll see it.
I see it on the telly.
They're investing money.
I know.
They're investing money into the game.
Let me
it's also... there's also a moral issue, and I have to applaud the Swans, for example, for drawing the line. And there's a couple of rugby league teams in New South in the NRL that taken sponsorship money from gambling, legitimate gambling business, right? And it's also a moral issue here because gambling affects the poorest in the community the hardest. So I have to applaud the Sydney Swans, for example, who have said no to gambling sponsorship. It's a whole social issue besides taking the money and reinvesting the money at the expense of the poorest of the poorest. And poker machine, hits. If you look at New South Wales, where the poker machine revenue comes from, it is from the lowest socio-economic areas, where the clubs, Mountains, Marconi, they have thousands of machines, and they're churning out lots of revenue at the expense of hope because you're thinking, I'm going to win next time, and next time doesn't happen. So I think the gambling issue is more than just finances. It is where, as a club, you stand as the values of the club. If we take money from gambling, that's fine, but there's a social cost involved that, as a director, I will have to deliberate within myself every day.
Okay, now I want to get to the next content that we've got here right now is Football Australia. Now, I think Angelo, and here we go, and I just want to say that Angelo, I think you said there's going to be a lot of changes. Apparently, those changes have happened. I can't believe this. Ernie Merrick gone. Alex Devani, who was apparently was James Johnson's assistant, he's gone. James Johnson's gone. A few other things, restructures into the Football Australia. To me, the big issue was when they put on Ernie Merrick, and I'm saying to myself, he's there to improve the game or something. He's supposed to do things in there. I'll ask Adam first. Adam, not once did I ever hear, or did he even speak to the media or anything what they were going to do? Not once did I hear from Ernie Merrick. He was just siphoning. Whoever put him there was a complete joke. What do you think of that?
It was a weird one as far as his appointment, because it's sort of like he was there sort of almost like as the almost at the top sort of competitions administrator. But you're right. If you sort of look back and go, okay, what did he actually achieve, which is public facing? You'd be very, very hard to actually look. I'm sure he did things behind the scenes, but again, that's behind the scenes is one thing. Actually seeing and taking credit for, say, the Matildas or the A-League, or look, the A-League as on the pitch is, I think that the standard has been as good as ever. But the problem is that it's nothing that you can actually say this is what he has achieved. Same even to a certain point. I know Tom Samani, before he became the interim Matildas coach, he was in a similar role where he was basically a consultant to women's football. And until, I think, Tommy, obviously, legendary coach, did a great job holding the ship between when Tony Gustavs left and Joey Montemuro's appointment. But again, it's like, what did they actually do that you can actually put on pen and paper and say, this is what they did for the game, that's public facing, they actually say, because it really, yes, they might have laid foundations, it might be for the next person, but at the end of the day, what did they actually do other than collect a paycheck from Football Australia?
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
Angelo?
Oh, look, I remember when Ernie Merrick was appointed, I knew Ernie pretty well. I think we had Gary Cole on the show last week, and Ernie was a very, very capable person. He was sought after from other sports, other codes, to have, like put in place some strategies and coaching. But, you guys made the point, Adam and Harry, in terms of when he was appointed, we didn't see any statement in the media as to what the strategy was, what the purpose was, what was he going to do, his responsibilities. And then, of course, that happened. And then after that, we had no communication in the media from Ernie. He was a silent worker. As Adam said, I'm sure that he did something because obviously Ernie Merrick is he's a very proud person of the sport, but also a great servant of the sport. But we didn't really see or feel that he was doing something in terms of betterment, in terms of the technical side of coaching, or in terms of the development of the game. And look, he's gone. James Johnson is gone. And guys, there's a few other people that we know, and we can't mention on the show, but they'll be going as well. There's a lot of drastic changes coming from Football Australia, and let's just hope that after these changes, we can see the betterment and a bit of a rapid growth and rapid sort of like brand positioning, the game in terms of growing at A-League, Women's League, okay? And that sort of thing needs to happen for Football Australia. And we need to look at things like we were talking about merging and things like that. Business sense, add a bit of business sense to the football, because we are as popular as ever, gentlemen. We are as popular as ever. There is interest in the game, and we saw that when the Matildas play, when the Socceroos play. And gentlemen, I'll say it again. In the next 12 months, me as a football enthusiast and a football lover, I want to see the game in a different position. And we've got 12 months. We've got a great window, because the Socceroos are going to be playing in June of next year. They're going to be playing in the World Cup. And might I say that Italy is not yet qualified. The Socceroos have qualified 6 times in a row. Italy have missed out last 2 in a row. So Australia, wake up and let's make the game better.
Yeah, and now, Carlos, your opinion on whether it's cost cutting or whether it's trying to make it more streamlined at Football Australia. Maybe there's too many people, too many bosses there and not enough workers, Carlos.
Look, in defense of Ernie Merrick, the previous technical directors that we had before him, beginning when the first Dutchman came and then he went across to Sydney, I forgot his name. They were like ghosts. No one knew
exactly
who they were, what they did, and how. But they were technical directors, and they implemented a curriculum. But no one saw it at the coalface.
Ray Barn?
When the World Cup was going barely up and we're not playing well, I kept asking, isn't the job of the technical director to say to head coach, look, from my point of view, this is not working, maybe try it this way, because he's an unbiased observer. But Ernie Merrick and his predecessors were harshly done by, because no one knew. He was called the football disruptor. He was going to revolutionise the game, but no one knew. And I'm sure he did a lot of good, because he's a thinker of the game. He knows what. I'm sure he did a lot of good things in the background, but unfortunately, history will judge him harshly. Now, in terms of reshaping FA, obviously, the last AGM, from memory, there was an $8 million loss that with the Socceroos qualifying for the World Cup, the Matildas and the Asian Cup. That $8 million loss will go back into the black. But obviously, when you have $8 million, you have to make some adjustments to your personnel. And it's unfortunate that Ernie Merrick had to go and a few others. But the people who, in my view, once James Johnson chose to go to another job, and he's now with Football Canada, part of the Football Canada setup, the key, James Johnson will have appointed the people that he wants to work with, because he can work with these people. So once James goes, the other people will follow. Similar when Ange got sent packing from Spurs, his whole team went. Now,
Exactly.
but on a positive note, I think the appointment of John Moss as the head of high performance referees have been outstanding achievement. And I have to congratulate Ali Reza Fagani, Ashley Beecham, and Anta Shetinin, who were the referees. Ali Reza was in the middle, the two ARs, in the first ever inaugural FIFA Club World Cup. So I think John Moss, who came from the UK, he was an EPL referee, and then he was VAR assessed, whatever, head of VAR, and then he went to Scotland, came back last year. I think that's we have to congratulate Ali Reza Fagani and the two linesmen who work together all the time as a team, and they travel together throughout Asia. For them to be appointed as the referees to referee, and you're the first one, no one could take that away from you, the inaugural FIFA Club World Cup. And we can talk about the merits of these tournament till the cows go home. But I think when you lose $8 million, there has to be some adjustments, and there will be adjustments. And I think we have to learn to do more with less.
Yes, of course. Now, I'm going to bring in, as soon as I finish this, Angela, I'm going to talk about your project that's happening with Harry Michaels. I've had talks with officials from clubs in Melbourne. I needed to bring this up tonight because I want to find out from Carlos in New South Wales and Angelo in Italy as well, and yourself, Adam. Now, I've had constant talks about this. This is a massive disgrace. A team that wins a grand final in Victoria, they pay nearly up to $1 million in wages, and their costs are $1 million for the year. Their return is $30,000, Adam. $30,000. You expect at least $150,000 prize money at least, but $30,000. Do you know how much it costs in the winner of NPL Queensland? Do you know at all how much it costs they're getting there for a return, for a winning?
To be honest, I actually don't think it's anything up here, right? I'd have to double check that.
It's a question on notice for next month.
Exactly.
I'll never find out with Football Queensland because we've been seeing them in a couple of weeks' time. But
you need to ask that question.
If it is something, it's not much that will make one lick of difference to the operations of the club going to next year. That I can say that if there is an amount, it's not much. And look, $30,000. Like I said,
my God,
if even Gary would knew that'd be. But I actually don't think it's anything. If I'm being honest, but I'll endeavour to find out. Yeah,
Angelo, you tell me the equivalent to an NPL competition in Italy. The equivalent. You've seen it all, right? The equivalent. They must be getting over $1 million at least. Have to be. There has to be money there for this.
Well, look, it's all done in proportion. Of course, the Serie A, the budget for any team finishing bottom is about 20 million. Like teams are mid to low 50 million, and the prize money for winning in the Serie A is 60 million. So that they actually give more than what the average budget is. So you get 60 million for that, and then of course if you finish second, it just scales down. Okay. 40 million, 30 million, 20 million. So I'm not saying that for the NPL by any chance. But I think, Harry, you're spot on, Harry.
Mate,
if it's going to cost 600,000, I know in Adelaide, to run Adelaide City in the NPL costs about $600,000, $700,000. And you were close, like in Victoria, maybe $1 million, and you should get at least 10% back. I mean, that's a loss, I know, but, and we were talking about juniors. They generate money through the juniors. So the next season, they'll generate another $1 million. But it's totally out of whack in terms of the prize money. You brought up an excellent point. I think that should be revisited. And I'm not sure the A-League, I'm not sure what Auckland, for example, received for winning the premiership, and then Aurelio Vidmar, Melbourne City, for winning the finals. I'm not sure if there is some sort of incentives, like if you win a final, 2 final, 3 final, like FIFA do with all the competitions. But definitely needs to be revisited because the clubs need to get a return. Definitely.
Yeah, of course, Carlos, you come from New South Wales. You probably of course you're from there. Of course you. Don't look at me like that the way you're looking at me now really evilly about the game in New South Wales. But let me just, look, he doesn't know what to answer here. Let me say, there's been a massive...
What the question is.
No, let me tell you, there's been a massive uproar in Victoria. I've spoken to officials from clubs, they've had a gutful of not the football. Look, I don't want to get in trouble with Football Victoria, whatever, guys. It's just talk between me and them and saying there's not enough money that they're earning if they're going to win a title. And not only that, you're also giving the team on top winning a premiership. I don't mind. You're cutting with two swords here: the top team and the second team. We're playing finals here. We're not playing. You're going to win and you're top and you've won like in England or in Europe. But here it's very different. A final title you win here, you got to win money. You're not coming here to get $30,000 just to pay your electrical bill. What are they doing there in NPL New South Wales? What are they getting paid for a win?
Look, I think the players, if you play for RPM Marconi, you're probably on $1,000 plus a win. I don't have the details, but I've got to say about if a club chooses to spend $1 million on wages, and I will assume that covers the coaching staff, the assistants, the medical staff, they have a financial controller. And they all do the sums and they budget and they go out and get the players the coach wants to strengthen the game. So if winning the premiership is $30,000 prize money, well, so be it. You have the money in the bank, you have a financial controller, you have an executive who, as a club, they make the decision to purchase X amount of players at the request of the head coach, right? So that money has come in beforehand for you to use it as you see fit. Now, if the clubs are unhappy about the prize money, they have to be part of the solution. They have to go to Football New South Wales and maybe enlighten them with left field ideas. How can we increase the revenue? You're not going to get the revenue from people going to the grand final. You might get 1,000 people. So ticket sales will not do it for you. So it's up to the clubs to stop whinging, go to Football Victoria, Football New South Wales with some concrete ideas and put it up to them and says, this is left field, but worth looking at it. But they have a budget. I mean, Apia, Marconi, they have a budget. They have bought really good players. Yes, they have sold really good players overseas into the A-League, so they're getting the money back. I have no issue with clubs spending $1 million on players. They obviously have the money to do that, and then they can't complain if they only get 30,000. I agree, it's too little. But the clubs need to be part of the solution.
And I'll get Angelo before we start talking about the answer. Angelo, if anybody heard the prize money in Victoria, in Italy, some officials, and they heard and what they're winning for their club, what they win there, how much money they've won, and they hear one of the officials saying, $30,000 you won the premiership? Angelo, what would they think?
It's apples and oranges.
What would they think in Italy?
It's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges. You can't talk about this.
Yeah, but you're talking about...
I think what Harry's saying, Carlos, is in terms of proportional. I was saying before, you can't compare 60 million and 60,000 and so on. But what it's a good point because, and as you say, Carlos, the clubs need to go to the federation. We just finished talking about the fact that the federations are making millions and millions of dollars, and what do they do with it? Why don't they have a prize money, a decent prize money at the end of the season for some of these clubs that, put up $1 million, in terms of budget? I mean, I think that I was saying before it needs to be revisited properly and have all the clubs, rally around this sort of thing because, it's 30,000. It's just chicken feed. You're not going to do anything with 30,000. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, Carlos. I think even in terms of
it is.
We're not comparing it to A-League, to the Serie A or EPL, but I think that, it's back in the dinosaurs when I think that, I think that the Raiders won 20,000. That was 15 years ago.
Gee.
I remember when in Adelaide, one of the NPL teams won. It was $20,000. I mean, that's 15 years ago. So I think that we're living in the dark ages with 30,000, Harry.
Sorry, can I just jump in one thing as well? Yes. Probably one thing that seems to be so lost as well is, I guess, the economy of NPL and National Sector Division and whatnot is, why has it taken this long and still no resolution to the domestic transfer system? At the end of the day, money is made with the clubs, especially at the lower level, buying, selling players, obviously to the A-League and beyond, just as we're seeing. I read something today where the A-League clubs have made $16.8 million in sales of young players this season. But yet here in Australia, domestically, there is still no ratified domestic transfer system.
No.
And for my opinion, is that to me is the number one priority for Football Australia to need to get the APL and with the federations and get that ratified, because you can forget about talking about promotion, relegation, and all this other fancy stuff, and to be in line in step with the rest of the world. It all comes down to the domestic transfer system. So these clubs, so they're not we're not having conversations about that they're not getting anything out of winning a grand final, because they've made their money selling their top players and seeing their best players, especially the best young players that have invested, thousands upon thousands of dollars on, to go on to a professional career, and then them getting the proceeds of that.
That's a very good point, Adam, because, with transfers, that's a great money avenue, like in terms of generating funds. And I'm just surprised that even today, there is no structure in place for an NPL team that produces a fantastic player, and then that player goes to the A-League and they only get training money or something like $8,000, $10,000, $20,000. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. I'm just surprised that nothing has been done, as yet. Today we're still talking about it.
Let me say one thing about this. A few weeks ago, we had Joey Spiteri on here, right? A few weeks ago with Joey, and he also spoke about Geordie Boss. Geordie Boss comes from his academy, and then Joe Spiteri say for the Soccer Pro Academy. Of course, hello Joey, and of course he said that we're still waiting for money from Football Australia to pay them.
Yeah.
Work that one out. Still waiting. You understand? There you go, Angelo. There's one example there. We came from my academy, and actually that was the show there at Brunswick. He said it too, saying Geordie Boss comes from our academy, and we're still waiting for the proceeds to come to us too. Work that one. See what's going on here? There you go.
Yeah.
See what's going on?
Yeah. No, look, I think that is a serious one. That one, I really had forgotten all about it. But Adam just reminded me of the years, Adelaide City and Adelaide United, and players coming through, and those NPL clubs not getting deserved money, for developing the players.
Exactly, Angelo.
One or two players out of those academies and all that could pay for the next season or so, just based on that investment. And if the A-League clubs are playing proper market value, whatever the market's set at, that would be such a big help to building that, and so they can invest, so they can bring more kids through. It just befuddles me. The one major topic why football in Australia is struggling at the moment is because there's no economy from the teams below to be able to make money.
There isn't. And that's got to be revisited. There's got to be some kind of thing with the MPLs and football, all the football associations to come together and do something and fix the bloody game. It's not just from Football Australia screaming what they want. It's all coming together and do something together. That's what's got to happen. I want to get Angelo on quickly because of this project that you are having to do with people are listening out there right now. What is happening?
Okay, well, we've got this project. Obviously, we've got a football page where it's called On the Ball Live World Game, which is owned by Harry Michaels. Harry Michaels was sponsoring and producing and directing a football show called On the Ball, which was obviously hosted by Andy Pascalidis and Kyle Patterson and Craig Foster, and all those guys were on, driving that program. We've got a Facebook page that we're trying to build to 1,000 friends. Okay, it's not members because it doesn't cost anything, it costs zero. And we're trying to profile it a bit more. We've actually got 873 today, so we need another 127 friends, passionate people that are passionate about the game. And obviously what it does, the Facebook page, is giving you, breaking news from all over the world, not just Australia, the Matildas, Socceroos and EPL, the Serie A, La Liga, and so on and so on and so on. There's so many news there, I think. And Harry, you contributed a lot by giving us, news, fresh news, and that's what it's about. And we just want people to go on the link. All you need to do is go on the Facebook link. And what we're trying to do ultimately is have a weekly football show on a mainstream television. I mean, you might think that's a dream, but it's not too much. When you get Harry Michaels involved and with his experience and his contacts and the work that he's been doing with Football Australia, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do, gentlemen. If anyone is out there, boys and girls and men and women, like that love the game, just go on the link, On the Ball Live, the World Game, and send in a friend request, and we'll accept it and approve it straight away. Thank you, Harry.
And that grows the game again, where we are the independents that are doing this. And the thing about that is the hierarchy of the game here should be helping, but I'm hoping that they do help. And of course, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Carlos, your return of the Lone Stranger. No, the Lone Ranger. Sorry, the
Lone Ranger.
I got it wrong again. I got a Lone Stranger. I got it wrong again. Thank you for joining me, guys, tonight. Thank you for football. This was live. Don't forget, we've got a big surprise for you next week.
Adam.
A massive surprise next week, guys. Good night, thank you for joining me. Adam, Angelo, Adam, thank you guys for joining me. Carlos, see you next week. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Check it out. Here we go. Hop, feel it. Oh, what a show, guys, tonight. You heard a lot of stuff. Money has to be put up higher for the clubs if they're going to win a title. They invest money every year and they want to win a title, but they've got to get some return back as well. Here we go. Even second, third, fourth, and fifth, sixth, they've got to get money. All of them for making the finals. Check it out. Hey, feel it. We've got a massive surprise next week. A lot of information for you as well. Don't forget about Angelo's project. Our project is next week, The Cup of Life. This is the one. Now is the time. Don't ever stop. We should have known. Gotta be strong. We should have known right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold you back if you really want it, guys. I see, get out to your clubs, go and pay something, go and buy some food, hot dogs, whatever. Make some money for you. Are you ready, guys? Let's do it. Check it out. Let's party right now. Here we go. Here we go. Don't forget, guys, next week, 8 p.m. Tuesday next week, guys. See you next week. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Hup.